Hey guys, I'm Darren Bermeo, fourth-year student of Bachelor of Science in Customs Administration. For this video, we're gonna talk about the four topics, which are the rules of origin, free trade agreements, trade remedy measures, and general interpretative rules. So first is, what is rules of origin? So in international trade, legal standards supports the differential treatment of some products based on their country or region of origin. These are the criteria needed to determine the national source of a product. There are two types of rules of origin, which are preferential and non-preferential. And also there are two types of determining the rules of origin, which is wholly obtained and substantial transformation. So wholly obtained goods refers to any exporting products that are born and raised or originated and manufactured in a particular country. Substantial transformation are products that underwent a fundamental change in form, appearance, nature, and etc., which adds to its value an amount or percentage that is significant in comparison to the value. In substantial transformation, there are three factors. These are value-added rule, CTC or change in tariff classification rule, and process rule. The importance of rules of origin in world trade is to implement measures and instruments of commercial policy such as anti-dumping duties and safeguard measures to determine whether imported products shall receive most favored nation treatment or preferential treatment. For the purpose of trade statistics, for the application of labeling and marking requirements, and for government procurement. The next topic is free trade agreement. So, free trade agreement is an agreement between two or more countries where they are agree on certain obligations that affect trade in goods and services and provide protections for investors and intellectual property rights. For the Philippines, it is under a TIGA or ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement. The goal of this agreement is to achieve free flow of goods in region, resulting in fewer trade barriers and deeper economic linkage among the member states, lower business costs, increased trade, and a larger market and economies of scale for businesses. The Philippines has free trade agreements with China, India, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand under ASEAN. The next topic is trade remedy measures. So the first one is anti-dumping measure. This is a Republic Act number 8752, otherwise known as the Anti-Dumping Act of 1999. It provides protection to a Philippine domestic industry that is being materially injured or is likely to be materially injured by dumping of articles imported into or sold in the Philippines. The following conditions must be met to be considered dumping. First is the product or products are identical in every aspect. Second, there must be a price difference between the export price and the normal value of the allegedly dumped products. Third, the imported product is injuring or threatening to injure or retard the establishment of a domestic industry, and there is a causal link to show that injury to the local industry is due to dumping. So next is countervailing. So Republic Act number 8751, otherwise known as the Countervailing Duty Act of 1999. It provides protection to a Philippine domestic industry that is being materially injured or is likely to be materially injured by the subsidization of articles imported into or sold into the Philippines. The following condition must be met for imported products to be considered as subsidized. Subsidy must be specific and the amount of subsidy must be at least 1% of the ad valorem value. The imported product is injuring or threatening to injure or retard the establishment of a domestic industry, and there is a causal link to show that injury to the local industry is due to subsidization. Next is safeguard measures. Republic Act 8800, or otherwise known as the Safeguard Measures Act, it provides temporary protection to a Philippine industry affected by the surge in imports. It authorized the Philippine government to restrict imports after investigations carried out by the competent authorities. and establish that imports are taking place in such increased quantities as to cause or threaten to cause serious injury to the domestic industry that produces like or directly competitive products. There are two types of a safeguard measure. General safeguard measures shall only be applied after a positive final determination that the increased importation of a product is a substantial cause of a serious injury or threat to the domestic industry. In the case of non-agricultural products, it shall be first established that such safeguard measures would be in the public interest. Special safeguard measures are defined as emergency actions with respect to increased imports of particular products, where such imports have caused or threatened to cause serious injury to the importing member's domestic industry. The last topic is general interpretative rules. So, it is an integral part of the harmonized system providing uniform application and interpretation of each product nomenclature. It sets out the principles in determining the classification of goods. It consists of 6 general rules. The first 5 rules relate to classification in the 4-digit headings. Rule 6 relates to classification at a subheading level. The application of rules 1 to 4 should always be in sequential order. Rule 1 is to be taken into consideration first. If not applicable, proceed to Rule 2 and so on up to Rule 4. Rule 5 and 6 stand on their own to be applied as needed. Goods must be first classified in the 4-digit harmonized system heading whose terms must specifically describe the goods and only 4-digit headings are comparable. Rule 1. So, title of sections, chapters, and subchapters are provided for ease reference only. Classification shall be determined according to the terms of the headings and any relative section or chapter notes. This is the first rule to be considered in classifying any product. Most products are classified according to this rule. Rule 1, titles of sections and chapters are for ease reference only. Example is circus elephant. So, section 1, live animals or animal products. Chapter 1, live animals, or chapter 95, toys, games, and sports, requisites, parts, and accessories thereof. So, the example is belongs to section 1, live animals and animal product, since it is an live animals and not toys, games, and sports, requisites, parts, and accessories thereof. Rule 2 extends the scope of classification to include goods imported in a condition not specifically recognized in the tariff nomenclature. Incomplete, unfinished, and unassembled or disassembled goods. Reference to goods comprised of different materials or substances. A. Incomplete or unfinished articles provided that as presented has the essential character of the complete or finished article. Complete or finished article presented unassembled or disassembled condition. Any reference in a heading to a material or substance shall be taken to include a reference to mixtures or combination of that material or substance with the other materials or substances. So, Rule 2 example is perform battle, unfinished article, heading 39.23 covers plastic bottles. So, and another example is an assembled article, and which is an assembled stand fan. Heading 84.14 covers fan. Example of incomplete is car without tires. Heading 87.03 covers motor vehicles for the transportation of less than 10 persons. For Rule 2B, example is stainless steel knife with wooden handle. Heading 82.11 covers knives of base metal. So, Rule 3 for goods classifiable under 2 or more headings. A is most specific description. B. Mixtures, composite goods, and goods put up in sets for retail sale shall be classified on the material or component that gives the essential character. So, and the last one is classified under the heading which occurs last in numerical order. So, for Rule 3A, example is chair with ladder. So, wooden ladder heading 44.21, other articles of wood, and wooden chair heading 94.01 seats. So, naka-indicate diri sa Rule 3A is kung unsa ang iyahang most specific description. So, kung same ani na chair and ladder, kung unsa ang mas specific description, mao siya ang imong pilion, which is kaning wooden ladder na heading 44.21. So sa Rule 3A principle, relative specificity, a description by name is more specific than a description by class. A description that more clearly identifies a product is more specific than the one which is less complete. So sa Rule 3B, ang ginapangita diri kay ang essential character of a product. So how to determine a essential character of a product? So it may be determined by the nature of the material or component, its bulk, its quality, its weight, and its value. Role of the constituent material in relation to the use of the goods and other factors. The essential character is determined on a case-to-case basis. And Rule 3C is last in numerical order. Ang example is bar table with stools. So, ang bar table, ang heading is 94.03 and ang stools kay heading 94.01. So, ang last in numerical order is ang bar table. So, under siya sa bar table. And Rule 4 is most akin. So, ang most akin is goods which cannot be classified in accordance with above rules shall be classified under the heading appropriate to the goods to which they are most akin. For example, this exhaust air jack. So, exhaust air jack is under heading 84.25. Kinship may depend on such factor as description, character, purpose, or intended use, design, production process, nature of the goods. Rule 5A is the case or container presented normally with an article is classified under the heading where the article is classified. Rule 5B, packing materials and packing containers entered with the goods are classified with the goods. If of a kind normally used for packing, but not when such packing materials or containers are clearly suitable for repetitive use. So, ang example sa Rule 5A is importation of a violin with case. So, heading 92.02 covers string instruments. By virtue of GIR 5A, the violin and its case are both classified under heading 92.02. Rule 5A, containers must be classified with articles for which they are intended. First is specifically shaped or fitted for articles they will contain, suitable for long-term use, presented with articles for which they are intended, whether or not the articles are packed separately for convenience of transport, and of a kind normally sold with such articles. Rule 5B, packing materials and packing containers entered with the goods. Example, a wristwatch packaged in a paper box. So, ang Rule 5B kay ang case ni siya na appeal na siya sa products. For example, kaning relo nga relo na ang box, ang nairelo tapos na box. So, ang box kay appeal na siya sa pag-purchase. And Rule 6, which is subheading rule. So, once goods have been classified in their heading level GIR 1 to 5, then classification in the subheading level can take place by repeating the principles of GIR 1 to 5 and taking into account any related subheading notes. Classification of goods in a subheading shall be determined according to the terms of those subheading and any relating subheading notes. Remember that only subheading at the same level are comparable. So, example for GIR 6 is classification of plum, a hybrid fruit of plum and apricot. Heading 86.09 covers apricots, cherries, peaches, including nectarines, plums, and slows fresh. Subheading 0809.10 covers apricots. Subheading 0809.40 covers plum. By virtue of GIR 6, mutatis mutandis GIR 3C, the hybrid fruit is classified under 0809.40 or plums. That's all for my report. I hope you learned a lot, and thank you guys for listening.